Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Woojae. I'm a pastor of the United Methodist Church, but I have a different role. I'm not a pastor at a local church. Sometimes people call my job title pastor for pastors. So exactly my title is the district superintendent or conference superintendent of the Minnesota Annual Conference. So my role as a superintendent is supervising mission and ministry of 76 churches and 76 pastors in my district. We have 4 districts in Minnesota Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church. So I take southwestern quadrant of the state. So as you imagine, I drive a lot. And then I've been into this role a little over 2 years now. And then when I started, I got a brand new car, and then the mileage I put into my car is 48,000 miles in the last 2 years. So you can imagine my life. Mostly I'm on the road. Well, I was born and grew up in Seoul, South Korea. I said South Korea, not from North. So am I a good guy? Yeah, maybe. Well, prior to, I came to the United States in June 2002. Prior to my arrival in the United States soil, I had been one of the 7 associate pastors at a large Methodist church with the 7 members from 1998 to 2002. So first I oversaw education department from K to college kids. I was competent in my ministry with the young folks. I was able to grow my college ministry with the 6 college students to 135 kids and young adults in 6 months. So 2 years later, I was assigned to a parish that consists of 2,000 members. The ministry was vibrant, growing, healthy, and vital. The reason I'm telling you about my pre-immigrant life is that I had no reason to come to the United States. I had no American dream. I had a good family and a vibrant ministry. So my ministry experience in Korea was nothing but positive and rewarding. Then you might ask, why did you come to the United States? Why? So back in 2002, the church celebrated 100th anniversary, and we had lots of side projects. And my project was to assist the retired bishop publicizing 100th anniversary centennial history book. And then I did my part. Another project we had was to send a prominent associate to raise to be a leader for the Korean church in the future. I wasn't a candidate for that project. We had one. He was brilliant and smart and fluent in speaking English and German as well. But he fell in love with a German monk. Nobody will know this person. German monk in 14th century named Meister Eckhart. And Meister Eckhart was a Catholic priest, a theologian, philosopher, and mystic, roughly contemporary to Martin Luther. So my fellow colleague told the church that he didn't need the institutional privilege. He said he would go to the countryside and want to begin his own monastery. Oh, wow. So he quit it. So we lost a candidate for that project. So one day, the senior pastor called a meeting with the 6 associate pastors in the room, and I looked around, and who would be the second smartest person to that person? Oh, Woojae, you go to the United States. That's how I came to the United States. So if someone asks me, who sent you to go to the United States? I will scratch my head, and I will say, maybe Meister Eckhart? I have never met him. And later, I really hated him because life was hard in this country.
Yeah.
So I was chosen as an alternative, and then I said yes to the church's call. No plan, no preparation, no American dreams came my way. Completely unready to study abroad. Thus, my biggest challenge was English. 16, 17 hours of the study to pass TOEFL test. An English exam required to all international students to get an admission. I took it first as a trial. It was in the transition time from paper-based test to kind of computer-based test. And then I got a score of 530. My seminary, Garrett Evangelical Theological Seminary, requires 570. So 40 points short. And then you think, oh yeah, just a 40%, and then you just study a few months and then you'll go. By the way, if you want to increase 10 points, it will roughly take 8 months to a year.
Wow.
So that means that then I have to study 3 years to 4 years to get an admission to study at a graduate level in this country. So long story short, and then 3 long passages for reading and comprehension section that I studied a night before the test were on the actual test.
Oh.
So I had only one shot before fall semester began in 2002. And then the test was taken in July, and then I got the result in August. The score was 575. But the language barrier continued. And I remember I spent 17 straight hours sitting on my chair to write a single-page reflection paper, which was the first assignment at the seminary. At that time, and my wife and my family were in Korea, and I shared my dorm room with one African-American student who graduated from Boston University. And our desk was just next to each other, and we sat together Friday afternoon. To him, it took just only 40 minutes to complete the test, and then he took off. It's a Friday afternoon, who want to study at the dorm room? And so he took off, and then I remember I saw the morning was breaking the next day. So 3 o'clock Friday afternoon, and then I wept. I wept over my computer because a 34-year-old man came alone to a foreign country without 1-year-old son and his loving. So this is the picture of the large church I mentioned. I was associate at this church. So that was a picture, and the loving wife. And then I miss them so much, and then I also miss my mother, who became a widow in 1998. In my culture, the first son has been expected to take care of the parents. And I have 2 younger siblings, and they both lived in foreign countries. One in China and the other one in Thailand. So I missed my mother and felt guilty, even if she was on a good pension as a retired teacher. So I was all by myself in a strange land. The original plan was that I studied and my wife made money until I completed my seminary. But I couldn't bear a life without my family. So every day, and then I called my wife, and I begged my wife to come sooner. And then she and my son came after my first semester. We reunited in Florida, to which I drove 20 hours from Chicago. December 15, 2002. And then I will never forget the date of our reunion. So my struggle with the language continued. Besides, I was a nobody in this country. And when my credit card request was rejected, because I didn't have any bank history in this country, and then I standing in a line for hours at DMV or Social Security office, and then I sometimes question myself, why am I here? And then what will bring me tomorrow? In those days, and then there was a song, and then I sang often called the leaning. It's called Leaning on the Everlasting Arms. And I'm going to say, I know this is not Sunday morning, I'm not preaching. But that was very important to me. And then the verse 3 goes like this. What have I to dread? What have I to fear? Leaning on the everlasting arms. I have blessed peace with my Lord so near. Leaning on the everlasting arms. Leaning, safe and secure from all alarm. Leaning on the everlasting arms. The second biggest challenge was immigration stuff. Back in 2005 and 2006, and maybe I don't know whether you are in the office or you are a practitioner at that time. The FBI investigated green card applications in Chicago area and found out there were so many fake applications submitted by pastors and or sponsoring churches. So USCIS shut down the green card process through R1 visa. So R stands for religious visa. That are all R1 visa come with a maximum 5-year validation. You cannot apply green card in the first 2 years. So the R1 visa holders have a 3-year window to complete the green card process. And the USCIS has shut down the process and has started and implemented a new practice, which is visiting the sites. So the USCIS person started coming to the church of the applicants on Sunday morning to get the bulletin and then check and then ask people, is that really your pastor or not? Can you imagine every single Sunday and then they're visiting and how much it will slow down the entire process? So it slowed down the whole entire process. It was impossible to complete the process within 3 years. In 2007, I had 3 months left before expiration of my R1. It was so anxious time and I had mixed feelings towards those who file fake immigration documents. On the one hand, as a clergy, I had a deep sympathy for those who don't have immigration status in this country and understand their acts out of desperate situations. And on the other hand, because of their fake documents, I became the victim of a broken immigration system. And as someone, and then I remember her last name is Che, filed a green card application, and she claimed that she's a pianist at your church. Is that true? I never heard about this name. So in the moment, and then I had a mixed feelings. And how? As a clergy, I cannot lie on the one hand, but I know exactly what this person did. And on the other hand, I want to protect her.
Right.
But at the same time, because if I protect and then I just promote the kind of fake documents, and that will result more process, more documents, and things like that. It was a very tender moments to me. And I was angry and frustrated. And in fact, quite a few folks of mine who are clergy had to drop their ministry at that time, return home in country, because they couldn't finish the green card process in 5 years. So many United Methodist clergies and then other denomination clergy, they had to drop at that time. So many sleepless nights, and then finally I wrote a letter to Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar asking help. I remember I just put these supporting documents, this thick. And then I received a phone call, and then she directly called the California Processing Center and then talked to a person handling my case. Then my green card application was finally approved 1 week later. So strength I have in all those years is a resiliency and a faith in God who leads his sheep to green pastures and still waters.
Good man.
And also I believe that the resiliency can be cultivated. I grew up in a very affluent family, but 3 years of military training and service taught me something. And my first full-time ministry was in a rural area, and my house built in a dirt, had a few mouse holes inside. And withstanding such a harsh environment for 3 years cultivated something in me. But faith is the ultimate source of resiliency and strength. And also the church family. My second appointment in Minnesota was made in Milaca, Minnesota. Do you know where Milaca is? It's a 60 mile north on Highway 169. When I first arrived, and then I asked the SPRC chair, asking, could you name my English name? Could you kind of decide? It's a kind of little we can announce in the congregation for 4 weeks, and whatever got the most name, and it will be my English name. I suggested that. So he announced it for 4 weeks, and then the final week, and then he just stand on the pulpit, and then he announced it, and then the announcements time, and then he said the most name got the voted was Woojae. And I thought it was a joke, and he was just. But then he explained, we accept as who you are. You are who you are. You don't need any other English name and American name, and we will accept you.
Yeah.
And that actually warmed me up. I remember. Do I have time, or do I have to 5 minutes?
5 minutes.
I already 5 minutes over. Okay, I'm gonna share this illustration, and then I will just complete. A missionary to Africa arrived at a village, and he led a worship gathering there and then had to move to the next village at night. But he was told that he and his team had to pass the lion's territory. There was a guy who knew the area well. He told the missionary in his group, saying, "Do not worry. I am guiding you. You'll be safe. Just put your steps on a spot shown by my flashlight, and I'm with you." In silence and pitch dark, the group safely arrived at their destination. And I know how it would feel like living in uncertainty and anxiety. It is dark. Predators may await on our path. God doesn't show us a master plan for the future. We may see just one step before us. But walking in the light of God, trusting God's goodness and faithfulness, has been sustaining me in the season of anxiety and fear. One step, just one step. And in Psalm 126, verse 5 says, "Those who sow with tears will reap with the songs of joy." Whether you are a Christian or not, what we are experiencing now will be the source of our strength and the resiliency for tomorrow. Whatever sowing seeds it means to you, fill your day with whatever best for us, for you, for the future will get us to weep with the joy, songs of joy. Every day is a survival, and every day is sowing seeds. Thank you so much.